Well, many thanks for joining me. My name indeed is Sammy Ofosuhene. If you just plug onto the domain, this is Boxing Court with me. And of course, since the days of Madeva, Egypt, boxing started in Africa and it has progressed to this stage. The most important thing, or the most unfortunate thing, is that Africa hasn't grown with the business side of boxing. And now, the new crop in town is Saudi Arabia, where they are making millions and billions. I mean, in 2022, in America alone, just on the other side of boxing, not even the boxing management and other stuff, talking about the other merchandises, they actually recorded 2.2 billion. And of course, it is believed that in the next 2030, it's supposed to grow by 7.3%. So, like, that should tell you boxing is really a business making venture. But of course, have we grown into that? Have we moved along with that? In Africa, promotions are becoming very difficult to organize. Things are very difficult when it comes to boxing organization and even managing boxers. Do we even do it right? Well, tonight, if you just plug onto the domain, this is what we are trying to not just ascertain, but find solutions to. Here we deliver when we say, when we promise, we definitely deliver. And of course, with me to do the discussion and help me find the solution is one person who has been in boxing for a long time. Most of you know him. If you're a boxing person, definitely you will know him. His name is Tom Varley. And guess what? I also have a surprise for you. Yes, I do have a surprise for you. A man who has been in boxing for a very long time. Actually, is managing some of Ghana's finest boxers. I can tell you about Felix Ajom and the rest. He is also here as well to help us do this discussion. So it's a fun-packed show, and I know you're going to love it. Later on in the show, I'm definitely going to open my lines on +815-302-5489. Once again, it's +815-302-5489. Definitely, you can leave comments on wherever you're watching me from. Like and share the page. Let other people get to watch. And of course, get some education, as it were. Of course, my name indeed is Sammy Ofosuhene, and you're very much welcome to the show, Boxing Court. Yes. And straight away, I'll just run you through what's happening in the world of boxing. I definitely have to start with the Ghana Games. And as regards to the Ghana Game, there's a lot happening. I mean, I don't know whether we should be happy or we should be sad. Yeah, some of our boxers fell short, but of course, I can tell you that some are equal also doing well. Samuel Techi and Muhammad Aite are actually to the next stage. Of course, they won their respective fights. So we are waiting to see how that pans out. We also know for a fact that one Ghanaian boxing is already in the medal zone. I'll give you more updates on that. But right about now, let me just take you through Europe so that we get to know what's happening in terms of the boxing scene in Europe. And of course, we're going to do justice by going straight to our main website, because otherwise that will not be fair. Boxing Ghana is the leader when it comes to boxing in Ghana. So definitely, I'm definitely going to start with Boxing Ghana. No two ways about. I'm definitely going to start with Boxing Ghana. No two ways about that. So do forgive me right there. Like I said, keep your messages coming on +815-302-5489, or wherever you're watching me. Definitely send your messages. I would love to read it out here. If you got questions for my guest, whatever it is, just a touch away. Just point something. Let me hear of you wherever you're reaching me from, your location and whatnot. Of course, let me introduce my guest once again. Like I told you, I have a very packed show. Definitely, I know you're gonna love it. But let me just run you through news making the world of boxing pretty very much very soon. Let's see. So we go straight to Boxing Ghana, and of course, Boxing Ghana is actually reporting on the current happenings as far as the African Games are concerned. African Games, which are currently happening in Ghana. African Games currently happening in Ghana, and I can tell you for a fact that so far the Ghanaian contingent, so we're expecting a lot from them, but so far Ghana is doing well when it comes to the medal table. Interesting enough, hand wrestling is winning more medals for Ghana. Can you imagine? But that's a topic for another day, and I'm sure that we'll nip it in the bud as and when it becomes very necessary. So yeah, that's by way of information for you out there. But like I told you, my guests are already seated. They are very much ready. I'm going to introduce them very soon. I was hoping to rope in this particular news for you, but it seems it's machines do have issues as and when you least expect them to. So yeah, we're going to do justice to that. So let me just introduce to you the man, Tom Varley. He is the owner, CEO, bankroller of Fight Africa. Yes, the man who has been, more like a silent investor. He's been financing boxers and helping promotional syndicates as well all over Africa, not just in Ghana. So we'll get to know much more about him. Let me put him right there. Yes. I think that we have him. We have Tom. Tom. You're very much welcome to the show. So yes. I think that we are back. We are back on air again. Do forgive us. We've been having these challenges, but definitely we'll nip that in the bud pretty soon. But you can see on the screen next to me, I'm trying to get Tom in. Yes, Tom is right there. Yes. That's Tom Varley for you. He's the owner of Fight Africa. He's also a bankroller. He's more or less like a finance. Should I say? Okay, I'll let him introduce himself. That would be great. But like I said, keep your messages coming on my line +815-302-5489. My name indeed is Sammy Ofosuhene, and of course, you're watching the show Boxing Court. Tom, you're very much welcome to the show.
Hey, Sammy, thanks very much for having me on, mate. It's a great pleasure, and I enjoyed our discussion last time about the potential Marius Matamba Faisal Abubakari fight we were talking about. That was quite intense. But hopefully today we can have a nice discussion. So I am the CEO of Fight Africa. Fight Africa, I started as a hobby. My day job is actually as an investment banker, so kind of like a real estate agent, but for companies. I just started Fight Africa out of a love for boxing and out of a love for Africa as a continent. I think it's just got so much potential, and so much talent here that it's just, incredible. And I basically Fight Africa. What we do is we have limited capital at the moment. We're still going to go on a capital raising spree.
Just hold on that thought. Let me introduce our second guest, who is a surprise guest. He manages some of the very finest boxers here, not just here in Ghana, but also all over Africa. His name is actually Gabriel Blinder. I hope I pronounced the name well. If I didn't, kindly do forgive me. But of course, I'm going to put him in a matter of minutes right about now.
How are you doing?
Yes, I'm great. I'm great. Good to have you. Good to have you on there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So that's Gabi right there for you. Well, Gabi, most of the people do not know you unless the real boxing people. But one great thing about this show is that it's not just boxing people that watch the show. We have private investors, politicians, people who matter when it comes to boxing. They do watch this show. That's why we call it Boxing Court. This is the reference point when it comes to Ghana boxing. Here we are an authority. Whatever we say becomes the ish. It's as simple as that. So kindly introduce yourself to us for the benefit of those who are meeting you or probably seeing you for the first time.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Gabriel Blinder. I'm currently the CEO of Critical Sports and Entertainment. We are a representation agency based out of New York. As you can see, it's still light outside, so I'm pretty several hours behind. Currently, we deal in various sports from boxing and MMA to basketball and football. So we're kind of an all-around agency, but as of late, I've been heavily introducing and continuously putting myself into the field of boxing, where, as you informed the viewers earlier, I do represent 3 boxers currently from Ghana. And as a side,
Felisa John,
then there's this and Tete too. So those 3 boxers. And another fun fact, I actually do work with Abdul Razak Al Hassan, who is in the UFC, and he's also from Ghana as well. So I have been moving and moving myself into this world, and recently met Tom through Marius, who is also a fighter that is signed to me that I work with currently. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm here to answer any questions. And yeah, thank you again.
Okay, so that's great. So I'll come to you before I go to Tom. Tell us about your experience in Africa, managing African boxers. How difficult is it? Juxtaposing that with Europe and maybe in the Americas. How difficult is that?
So I recently, if I'm being honest, I started recently the last month in terms of managing boxers from Africa. But in terms of dealing, I've been introducing and understanding how the politics works in boxing within the sort of field here. So I don't want to say it's difficult. I've been communicating with every boxer every day almost, discussing their next upcoming fights. And just to confirm, the way that I'm working with these boxers from Ghana right now, I am their co-manager in the continents of Europe and the Americas. So relating to their fights in Africa, I do help in terms of sponsorship to try to help find them sponsors. But in general, my main focus would be to help build them up in Africa. Hopefully, in the next couple of years, also transition them to stay in Africa as well, but to move also to Europe and eventually to fight in the United States. So all over.
Okay, well that's nice to hear. Let me just go straight to Tom, so that we can probably have a better discussion. Well, Tom, you have been in Africa, but many people do not really understand your role here. I mean, here normally what we preoccupy ourselves with is the fact that we only have the promoters more or less like self-financing their promotions. People really do not know about about, as it were, investors, who are like at the backstage helping other promoters and promotions. Tell us about your role. Tell us about your job, the people that you've worked with in Ghana, in Africa, and the kind of functions you perform.
Yeah, so basically I offer sort of financing support to promoters and managers in Africa, to help them further fighters' careers. I've worked with Jackie Bryce Boxing Promotions in Cape Town. We did a show back in March 2021 where I basically went 50-50 on the show with them. That was sort of piloting a pay-per-view platform in Africa. So we wanted to see how that would do because it was during the pandemic. So yeah, I'm basically here to give a helping hand in terms of investment, sort of helping managers cover their costs and helping promoters cover their costs so that we can put on good fights.
Okay, so tell me, how do you benefit through that? Are you just Father Christmas? I mean, how do you benefit? I'm sure every businessman is, you put an investment in, you're expecting a return. So how do you benefit through that, Tom?
Yeah, so I see it like a business, it's like one promotion, one show is like a business. If you put in 50% of the capital, then you're basically entitled to 50% of the returns. So, yeah, that's basically how the model works.
Okay. So, let me compare your experience here. I'm sure is it only in Africa that you probably do your business, or you do it elsewhere? And if it's yes, how would you compare the terrain outside and that of Africa?
Yeah, so basically I work with promoters from the UK. I've been working with Sam Kynoch, who's the largest promoter in Scotland. He worked with me on my show in Cape Town in 2021. And also been in contact with promoters from Argentina, also from America as well. And yeah, it's a completely different game in Europe and the US. Gabe will tell you, it's the way sort of the financing works and everything is completely different. And Africa, I think, the big challenges of investing in Africa is, it's a trust thing. So, when you're doing your due diligence on promoters and managers and things here, you don't really know who you're going in with. You have conversations with them, you get to know them, and then you basically have to make a decision on whether to trust them or whether they're going to be, put your money to good use and do the right thing. And Yeah, it can be very, very difficult to decide what what partners to choose, and that's where it comes in. In being a skilled investor, sometimes you have limited information, and you have to go on that limited information and make a call. And let's say a venture capital investor would invest in 10 businesses, maybe 7 of them would fail, 2 of them would do okay, and 1 of them would be your next Google or Facebook or something like that. So that's the whole thing in Africa as well. Maybe 7 of them won't make you money. 2 of them will do okay, and 1 of them might shoot it out of the park. And you've got to look for that one investment.
Tom, why do you think boxing is struggling in Africa? Why do you think boxing is struggling in Africa, business-wise?
I think it's difficult to get money into Africa and out of Africa is a big thing. Like I've found doing this event now for Faisal Abubakari versus Latibu Mwange, you send across an amount of money and about 10% of that gets taken by the bank already. And when you take it out, then it's about another 10%. So there's a financing thing that really eats into your returns, kind of getting capital into the country and out of the country is difficult. I think touching on the trust element again as well, for you to go as someone in the UK and send a large amount of money to Ghana, it takes some balls, man. It's it's not an easy thing to do. And I was lucky enough to come in contact with someone called Ernest Afori. I'm not sure if you know him. He's the trainer at Charles Courty Boxing Foundation. And Ernest was basically emailing people all around the world to try and make connections. He was just relentless, and that's what people must do, because he came in contact with me, and that's when we started talking. We started having lots of conversations. We built a lot of trust together, and then I knew I can trust this guy. So that's when I made the decision to invest in the Latibu Mwange versus Faisal Abubakari fight. He gave me the connection to Priceless Life Entertainment, who was the promoter. And through his trust of Priceless, we built a relationship there. And that's how that happened. It takes time to build that trust. You can't just do it overnight.
Of course. Keep your messages coming. I see that we on Facebook we have Kofi Esiahene Mponsa Osiahene. He says, I'm watching you live here in Ghana. Internet connectivity is not too strong, but I'm enjoying the conversation. Already, thanks of your messages are coming via my WhatsApp line. Many of them questions to Tom, some too as well. Okay, so I'll let me rope in Gabi here, because somebody is asking that he says, I'm a boxer in Tamale. I think that with the right support, I will get to be a world champion. Can Gabi assist me? Well, I will get to that bit. But I don't know if Gabi want to answer that, but we'll get to that bit. So just hold on a little bit. Let's finish the topic. We'll talk about the other aspects about whether or not. He's already managing, I think, 2-3 Ghanaian boxers. Felix Sham, I mentioned some few others. Just keep. We'll try and get that for you in no time. But of course, we'll talk. But let me bring in Gabi. Gabi, you said you just started like a year ago. So far, how do you see the business prospect? You think that is a business worth going into it, or you think that it's probably where you just go and lose out your cash? Because in the past, we've seen managers, promoters come in, especially in Ghana, and they came in as rich people and they've gone in as poor people, and they've gone out as poor people. But I think that was lack of foresight and probably due diligence that they didn't do. And that side, I know that you guys are covered in that aspect. But would you say that it's a business worth going into it? Tell us about your story.
Yeah, definitely. With how reliant we are on technology today and all of the promotional companies that are sprouting up all over the world, including the different streaming platforms such as the Zone and all of the other ones, it's a very good business to get into, especially if you're able to put on a good card where not only you're bringing the fans out, but you're also bringing in more of an international vibe and understanding to it. So it's definitely a business worth getting into. As a sort of side information, I did enter this industry because my grandfather, who passed away a couple of years ago, was a professional boxer in Azerbaijan. Back in the day, it was Soviet Union. But me and him used to watch fights every weekend. We used to talk about, I used to call him every day. I used to be like, look at this fight. This guy has this many knockouts. This guy's record is this. So entering this business is, of course, money in any business is important to keep it afloat. But this is a real passion project of mine. And that passion drives my determination to help fighters all around the world, especially in the country of Ghana and also other African countries as well. And meeting Tom as well. And recently we unveiled a partnership between Critical Sports and Fight Africa, where we will come together and also help fighters in Ghana and other African countries get to their best potential possible.
You being in box, at least you understand the boxing business. What are the things you think that we should improve upon so that we can, start, even if we are not aiming in the likes of UK, USA, or even the Saudi Arabias, at least we'll be getting closer, sort of bridging the gap, because I know that it will take a time, like some time in order for us to bridge the gap. But what are some of the measures that you think that when put in place, it will probably salvage this gap, this big gap, even if not close it, get closer to it?
Yeah, I mean, Africa has the potential. They have the fighters, a lot of talent here. The only thing is to just bring more of an international understanding to the sport, and to just have more of these international, not only promotional companies within is perfectly fine, but to have all of these streaming platforms that may want to partner in and actually record these bouts and have them internationally so everyone can see, I think is a huge thing. And obviously having people come in and sort of help build the fighters is another huge thing, which is what I'm trying to do, which is what Tom is trying to do, and a lot of other people, because we understand that there is potential, and that I can see in the next couple of years, I can see DAZN doing several hosting or several events here and continuously doing so. So
is that an exclusive here on this platform that the zone?
No, it's not. I can see the potential, and I know Tom can see the potential, and I know it's definitely a possibility. That is the eventual. That is one of the goals as well, to have this streamed everywhere, and I think it can be done with the right people, and I think it's slowly getting to that.
Yeah, I actually contacted DAZN for the Faisal Abubakari Latiba Mwange. Their CEO of Global Growth Markets. I've got him as a contact on LinkedIn. So, I sent him the whole pitch and said, would you consider streaming it? I didn't get a response, but then after that, I sent him the news, the news clip that showed the fight and the fighters' interviews, things like that. And he replied to me after that, actually to something else, because I was trying to get a job at DAZN. And if I can get that job, that would be a big help. But
we're actually hoping that you get it. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I'll get it.
So on this conversation, I was trying to get Ivan Korn of Top Rank as well on the platform, but I felt that it would be too many people per show. We probably will not get the substance of it. So maybe in our subsequent shows, we'll probably bring Ivan Korn and Mike Atamura as well. He also equal. But let's understand, because I have tons of messages coming here. Most of them asking questions of you. But today I'm going to ask my questions. When I finish with my questions, of course, I'll go to those WhatsApp messages. It says, okay, so can you ask Tom what are the prospects for a young investor if he decides to go into promotions? And that's by Henry Barnes. Okay, so Henry Barnes wants to know how would you encourage him if he decides he wants to go into promotions? What are the windfalls? What would you say are the pitfalls? What are the things that he should look out for? What are the things that he should probably look up to and say, yes, when I do A, B, C, D, I probably will achieve my target or break even?
Yeah, I think first of all, let's forget about the financial aspect of it. Let's just look at what it is like to invest in a promotion. It's a hugely, hugely rewarding thing. If you can do it, I had to build up my own capital. I know Gabe has too, through working hard, and I put aside some savings and basically decided this is what I want to do. I want to invest it in my passion and invest it in boxing. But yeah, it's it's really a hugely rewarding thing to be able to go to another country, sit ringside, knowing that you've helped put this show together and that you've helped give these boxers a chance to fight and get paid, and given this promoter the access to that financing. Obviously, the pitfalls are that it's risky. It's a very risky business. It's a high risk, high reward business. But when I say high reward, I don't think that this is something that you will have to work very, very hard at to make high returns. I don't think that those returns come quickly. You're probably going to have to spend quite a bit before it happens. So you have to be patient. You've got to be patient, and you've got to have a real passion for what you do. I when I did it the first time in South Africa, I'd raised about £40,000 of capital, outside capital. And that first event in South Africa, the pay-per-view platform just wasn't working in Africa. We didn't make money on the event. And for me, that was, quite discouraging. And together with a health issue at that time, I decided.
Tell us about the pay-per-view. Why didn't it work? Why isn't it working? I've had promoters, I've had business people talk about, if we can get pay-per-view and if we can get even just 1/3 of the African market subscribe to it or probably watching it, we could even supersede. I mean, if you watch the numbers, they are good. Why didn't yours work? Why is pay-per-view not work? I mean, it's not just you alone. I mean, it's like a remix song which is being singing through all this while. I mean, so tell us about it. Why didn't yours work?
Yeah, I mean, it was largely experimental. I don't think we planned to make a huge amount of cash from the pay-per-view. We wanted to see and test the market. I think the reason why it didn't work was, I think people, when there's boxers, they're boxers fighting, they're local boxers, they want to actually come out and watch the show. People want to be there. They want to feel the vibe. If it's a big pay-per-view between, Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua or something like that, people pay to watch that. But that's also, a lot of that money is coming from developed markets. In Africa, people would probably get, it's too expensive for them to pay those pay-per-view fees in Europe. So a lot of them will probably be getting it through, free, underground, routes, or also watching repeats after that. But, we set the price. We didn't set it too high. We set it, at like £5 a ticket. So it was about 100 Rand. I don't know what that is in cities, but it wasn't a very high amount, but people still preferred to come to watch live boxing, especially for development shows and things like that. That's not a pay-per-view, probably isn't quite appropriate for that level of boxing. It's only appropriate for the highest levels of boxing.
So tell me this: why is it difficult to establish pay-per-view in Ghana, unlike other places? Not just in Ghana. Let's even make it much bigger. Why is it pay-per-view? Why is pay-per-view so difficult to establish in Africa? Why is that?
I think it's for those reasons. I think people love to come out and watch live boxing here, in Africa, and even if it's a relatively small amount of money, I don't think people are willing to fork it out to watch a development show or something, with a fighter who's ranked maybe 100 in the world versus another fighter who's 150. They'd only be excited enough to pay for something that would be between the top boxers in the world. I think that's the reason.
So let me shift to Gabriel. Gabby, I need you to come in here. You if for nothing at all, before entering into boxing, I'm sure that you've done your own fact checking, you've done your own background and other stuff. Managing boxers, how complicated or difficult is it? And do you think that pay-per-view is possible for us to institute in Africa? And what are the things that you also, and the questions are threefold, what are the things you also think that if done right, probably it will help not just boxers, but managers like yourself?
Sure. So I'll start in terms of the complicating. I mean, to do anything with any client may in times be complicated, but as long as you have the reserve and understanding on how to communicate with them properly, keep them in the know. So one big thing that I pride myself on is honesty and keeping everyone in contact. So that's the reason why I communicate with every client, because I not only have boxing clients, I have 15 other clients as well in other divisions within my agency. So my main focus would be to communicate with everyone, make sure they understand what I'm doing for them currently that day and what my goals are in the next month or so. So moving into the second part, I definitely believe that pay-per-view is possible. I don't see why not, because there's such a large tranche of people who love the sport, people who love the art of boxing. But I do agree with Tom that people do love to come see the shows live. But I feel like when including social media, there is a possible way, which is going to your third question, sort of maybe a marketing tactic that can convince people to actually purchase pay-per-view is something that needs to be discussed and explored, whether it's setting up with local club or restaurant promoters all around Africa, maybe doing a sort of discount deal, charging them, I don't know, 10 pounds or 10, 15 US dollars to pretty much live stream it within their show and their restaurant, their venue, and then have people come out to there as well, especially people who are not close. Let's say the event is in Accra and there's obviously restaurants all around Africa, but it's a huge card. People may not travel from South Africa to Ghana or from any other country because maybe it's a monetary issue or anything of that. But sort of collaborating with other restaurants, clubs to live stream it and have a larger presence, I think can be a successful route to take.
Wow. Oh, I think that's a fantastic idea. I mean, collaborating with those restaurants and other stuff. But doing pay-per-view in Africa, what is the biggest challenge? I mean, aside, because I've talked to technical people that says, look, it has to do with internet. It's you don't get stable internet. You have challenges here and there. But I also know for a fact through my research that the likes of KNet, and not to single some companies out, but companies I've done business with, I mean, they have proper internet. Just that it's a little bit expensive. Yeah. What do you think can be done to not just bridge that gap, but what do you think can be done in order to make this thing work?
I think the big thing is to collaborate with these television companies or anyone who has the appropriate connectivity to actually bring this pay-per-view to life, and sort of rope in other streaming platforms that may collaborate as well with the television companies, because it's the televised part is very, very important. And I think we're moving into that slowly with all of the large crop of fighters and their notoriety around the world that I've seen, at least with the fighters I work with and other fighters who are sprouting up in Ghana, South Africa, and other countries as well. So I think the main part is to collaborate and to try to connect with all of these companies and try to bring them together and to sort of, I guess, not really form one entity, but to have a network where we can actually create these events. So Tom promotes it. Tom's going to put on an amazing card with whoever he works with all the fighters. And then, looping in all of these other companies, whether it's a streaming platform, a television company, and just bringing this to life. So it's obviously a lot of work. Like anything that you do is a lot of work, but as long as you have the right heads and the right knowledge, I think it's possible for sure.
Okay, so let me read some couple of messages here. Your messages are coming in thick and drop. I mean, thick and fast, I must say, and I am very grateful. Of course, you can also join this conversation wherever you're watching us. Just leave a message. If it's Facebook, leave a message wherever you're watching. And you can also send me messages on the number that's on your screen. That's +1 815 302 5489. Already, this one is a fantastic show. I mean, I always like when you do this kind of topical issues and listening to your guests. It seems they are very well versed when it comes to boxing business. Kindly ask them for me what in their own small corner they are doing to secure pay-per-view and also bring other boxers from overseas to come fight here. This one too is saying that great submission by Gabi. I also want to know if, aside those Ghanaian boxers that he's managing, if he plans to go into promotion. Okay, so this one says, Sammy, my question is pretty simple. I think that most of these things must be championed by the government so that other entities like Tom and Gabi will rope in. I seriously doubt if if it will work without government involvement. So let's when you send me messages, kindly add your name and your location. We want to know wherever you're reaching us from, wherever in Africa that you're reaching us from. Well, I just got to know that the show is also being aired live on Boxing Ghana, the main platform, which has about 30 something plus following, and we are very grateful that Boxing Ghana you've actually taken the link, and people are watching. We're very grateful to you guys. Once again, let me just do this one here. Sammy, I think that you should have involved Alex in Tiamo as well for him to equally expatiate the issues here. I get you. I mean, look, this is a different thing altogether. Alex Ntiamo is a promoter. Yes. We will probably engage him on a different topic altogether. But with this one, we're looking for the way forward. So I'm listening to your guest. I realized that it's more marketing, education, and probably involvement. But ask your guest for me, don't they think that it will also need a concerted government effort? And that's from Yamin Osman. Okay, so let's do this one real quick. I'll read just two in a bounce. I always love watching your show. I think that you are the few journalists that are always engaged in topical issues. Great analysis. Kudos to your guests with their well-baked knowledge in boxing. Well, thank you. This one, the last one that I'll read before, and listen, I'm reading them randomly, so don't come and accuse me of anything. I'm just reading them randomly. The last time I sent you a message, you never read my. That's why I took that caveat. You never read my messages. I get tons of messages here. Probably I should show you the screen. But of course, I'll do justice to you. Like I said, I will reserve like 5-10 minutes just to read your messages. No to waste about it. I really love your show. I'm hoping that you bring some of these boxers as well to also come and explain the challenges they face, because some managers only talk and put their names on them but do not even pay them the adequate money. They take advantage of these boxers. So come to Jamestown and see. Most of these boxers are are in serious predicament because of contract they signed that they did not even know the duration of it. I think more education on this topic is very good. Daniel Amwakun. Okay.
I'd like to answer that question, actually.
Okay. Yeah,
so,
go ahead.
Yeah, so one thing I do prior to, so when I speak to a boxer that I'd like to work with, I do explain to them the agreement that I'm sending to them. I specifically say before I send the agreement, I want you to speak to somebody. If you may not have knowledge on the legal aspects of a contract, please go to a lawyer. Please have them review it and then explain it to you. So one news about me, I did pass the bar exam in New York. So I did graduate from law school. So I will be sworn in as an attorney in the next few months, God willingly. And so I do have the legal knowledge and in terms of drafting agreements, negotiating contracts, everything. So it's very important to me that any fighter, before they agree to sign with a manager, with a promoter, actually understand what they're signing, because this business is very cutthroat. There are many fighters who may have signed agreements that they didn't understand and maybe had a falling out with whoever the individual is. And I've heard from many boxers that are currently fighting that have taken a break of at least a year or more because they did not want to work with that manager or promoter, but they've signed an exclusivity agreement to them. So that's one big thing that I hope to and continue to accomplish, is to make sure that everyone understands the contract that they are reading prior to signing it and working with me.
And, just to add to Gabe's point there, I mean, Gabe's one of the good guys in this business. I know him, and, he's one of the people, he's a lawyer, he's super educated, but, Gabe is probably one of the guys that actually takes his fighters through the contracts step by step, explaining to them each bit. He's the kind of guy who will go above and beyond and actually do that for his fighters. And, obviously he's saying, go and get legal advice because I'm the manager, and he's the manager and he's the fighter, to get it checked over. But Gabe's probably, going to take them through it. So, that's a really handy thing to have.
Okay, so and this is a straightforward question to you, Tom. Tom, you do this financing, you do this investment and all that. I mean, do you just wake up one day and say, okay, I'm gonna sponsor this promotion, or I'm gonna help this promotion? I mean, tell us, just educate us. I mean, how do you do it? And do you do due diligence? At the end of the day, what are the things you're looking for? Because I see most of the messages that I'm getting are actually to that effect. Some asking, so if they want to engage you, some telling me they are up and coming promoters. I just want to sum the whole thing up because I wouldn't want to read all the messages. There are many. So I want to know from you, what is your criteria for deciding whether or not you want to invest into a certain promotion?
Yeah, a lot of the time. So Priceless, when I looked at Priceless, for example, I mean, he's been in the entertainment industry for a while. He's put on good quality productions. He's got a Facebook page. He's sold himself well. You know, I've also had lots of conversations with him, and you know, I could basically vouch for him as a trustworthy guy that knows how to do business. So for someone who's completely new in the game, it's quite difficult because you don't have that portfolio or track record. So it becomes really about knowing how to sell yourself, you know, to an investor, and you know, by creating a lot of content to put on your social media pages, to be active on things like LinkedIn, where you building career contacts, things like that. That you know, you have a number of people that can vouch for you, that you're a good person, that you do business in a proper way.
Okay, so now we've actually talked about the fact that there are talents here in Africa. We also talk about the fact that there is a whole market here in Africa. We also emphasize on getting marketers and getting all other people involved and all that. But what I really do want to know from you guys is, how do we break into the big markets? How do we, or should the focus be on how to break into the big markets, or the focus should be on how to build this market? I'll start with you, Gabi.
Sure. So yeah, like I said before, is connecting with the streaming platforms that are now working internationally, whether it's DAZN or any other streaming platform, Triller. There's so many that are expanding to all around the world, from Europe, US to Asia to I definitely, I'm gonna say it again, I see them in Africa very, very soon. I know it will happen. Just need that little push. You need to have a solid game plan when approaching them, which I know Tom definitely has. And it's just getting yourself in the room and explaining to them how there's such a large market in Africa and how it will be successful for them to come. And like I said also before, the talent is here. So many good fighters. And I know a lot of these fighters can become world champions in time. But they need to start, obviously locally in Africa, keep building themselves up here. And there's still a lot of time. So yeah, that's pretty much my answer, is once again the networking and collaborating with companies and platforms.
Okay, so let me ask you this: what do you think about coaching in Africa? For many of the people, they feel like they probably should go and bring in Cuban coaches to come and train some of these boxers, because they are just raw talents when it comes to the act of boxing. You know, the methodologies, you know, the tactical and the technical aspects. Though we have plethora of talents here in Africa, people feel like their talent is not being harnessed well for them to move to the next stage. We can make one typical example of Samuel Otechi. Not disrespect to him. I mean, his fellow people that he actually went into Olympics with, they are doing so well. And you ask yourself, yes, he was with Bazooka Promotions and Management, but somehow they fell out and things hasn't really been that great. Of course, he went for the Olympic qualifiers, which he fell short in Italy. He's also currently in Ghana fighting in the African Games, trying to, of course, he won his first fight, so we probably hoping that you get a medal. But the fact is, or the problem or the issue is, do we need coaches, or do our coaches need good training? Why is it difficult for African boxers, talented as they are, difficult for them to transition into the world beaters as we see?
Yeah, so I wouldn't say this is only in Africa. For example, I know fighters in Germany and France who fly coaches and sparring partners out to get more experience. So I think it's always helpful to fly people in to assist purposes, like for assisting purposes, but I wouldn't say it's solely in Africa. This is through widely that, whether it's in Germany. I know people in the US who may fly over to the UK, to be sparring partners and for fighters camps. So there's
but
yeah.
But I would also say, Gabriel, I would say that when we're talking about fighting talent in Africa, we know that there's tons and tons and tons of fighting talent, but there's also tons and tons and tons of coaching talent in Africa. Look at guys like Ernest Afori. Look at the job like he's done with Faisal Abubakari, building him up as a fighter and his whole stable of fighters. There is a huge amount of talent, and these guys, they haven't had a huge amount of resources, when they've been building up their coaching careers. They haven't had a huge amount of resources, and look at what they've managed to do. Look at what the boxers have been managed to do. Their technique is world class. You get boxers over here that have, or in Africa that have, Lomachenko technique and movement and things like that. They just need the fights to get up there.
Now, so this is a bit interesting for me because it's a politician who's asking this question, and he prefers to remain anonymous, which is normal. On my platform, I do have politicians, people that matter, that watches the platform. That's why we say we are an authority when it comes to boxing and boxing related matters, not just in Ghana, but in Ghana we've dominated. We are hoping to catch the whole of Africa. That's not being boastful, but that's a fact. And his question is simply to the two of you. He's saying that, don't ask your guest for me, Sammy. Don't they think that the African market must be nurtured and put right before we invite other investments and investors? Because even in Africa, there is so much gap between promotion in South Africa and promotion in Kenya, promotion in Ghana and promotion in Nigeria. I think that there has to be a concerted effort to bring all this together, and by that will be through maybe a television network. So I think the biggest problem Africa faces, anyway, that's just my opinion, I'm not a boxing person, is that there has to be that merge. What, in their opinion, do they think must be done to have that merge in order for us to sell the product outside? Okay. So that's the two of you. I don't know if you got the input of it. I could read it all over again.
I can say from a managerial standpoint, it's to sort of craft the boxer. Obviously, the talent is there. Is to craft them in terms of on the social front, sort of build up a presence, and then from there package that into a game plan when you're approaching these streaming platforms or markets to bring, pretty much like you said, a potential television network across the entire continent. Because obviously, I mean, everyone knows social media is very important in today's time. You can get real life information within seconds from across the world. And obviously in boxing also social media has become important as well. So yeah, building up someone's social profile in terms, and then packaging that in with working with promoters and investors and using that as a whole package when you're approaching these companies. And I think answering that question, if you have that and everything's explainable and everyone's an understanding, I think you can achieve good results from that.
Okay, Tom, can you share your views on that for us, please?
Yeah, my view is, the big one that needs to get more involved in boxing is obviously DSTV Africa, because DSTV is broadcast all over Africa at the moment, and that's what we were getting at when we were saying we want a TV deal for the potential Matamba versus Abubakari fight. Was Priceless actually had him being in politics and things like this. He had a connection at DSTV Africa. You could get them on board for some of the bigger fights, build more of a following across Africa, by making it mainstream TV. Maybe this is the answer before things like pay-per-view, because pay-per-view, you need to have the following before you can have a successful pay-per-view, and it needs to be on sort of mainstream television.
Yes, okay. So let just a follow up. This is a message from someone that I know. He's a boxing person, and he's simply asking that as an up and coming promoter, if I want to liaise with the likes of Tom, what are the criteria? I guess it's the same. You know, most of these messages cuts across. I think that they want to do business. I think that they simply just want to know what it takes, you know, for you to come to their aid. But like I said, Tom is not a Father Christmas. He also have to do his background check. But I won't speak for him. He is here. Let him do the justice to the topic himself. Tom, if you can just expatiate on that bit, you know, I'll be so grateful. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, get in contact with me on Facebook, Tom Varley. Search me, and we can have a conversation. Let's start talking. Let's build up some trust, and then we can take it from there. You know, obviously, I said, you know, before that having a portfolio of things you've done in the past, whether it be in boxing or other business or anything like that, all of those things can really help in making my decision on whether it's a good idea to invest or not. But it really comes down to choosing the right people. You know, it's like choosing a management team for your business. You're choosing the promoter, you know, based on a set of characteristics, you know, what they've done, what kind of character they have, are they honest? You know, it's things like that.
Okay. So I guess you guys, you have it there. So he also does his own due diligence and all that. Now, there is one particular topic I didn't really want us to go into, and I don't want us to go into, because some of the messages are also from the other side. But today, like we said, we're actually talking about, you know, investment in African boxing, of course, the way forward and how to break into the market. And we want to just limit ourselves to that. So do forgive me if I'm sticking to that. We need to stick to that. I beg of you. We do need to stick to that. I'll bring in Gabby in very soon, but let me just ask Tom this. Tom, going forward, what will be your own personal advice? What will be your own, as it were, based on your experience, what will be the way forward for you? What are the 5 bulleted stuffs from this conversation that you think that we should start? And also from your own personal experience, what you think can be done right?
What I think can be done right. What?
Yes, in terms of getting African boxing to the state that we want to. You know, we're talking about not just being in that small village, and we're talking about being in the towns and reaching out to the whole world. People equal also watching us. People able to pinpoint that, oh yes, there is John Laye in Ghana. He's doing so well, just like the Saudis are doing it. Even if you are not bridging the gap, what, in your opinion, and throughout this conversation, the 5 bulleted points that you say systematically, if we do it, we definitely should be able to, if not, you know, bridge the gap, get closer, or narrow it a little bit.
Yeah, I think one of the things I haven't touched on, I don't know if I can think of 5 right off the bat because it's putting me under pressure, but I think one of the things we need to stop is the exploitation. You know, we need to stop exploitation of African fighters into Europe and Russia and USA. So that's basically managers that are looking to make a quick buck off fighters, don't care about them, basically throwing them to the lions. So looking for a fighter who's maybe built up a certain record and then is going and basically taking this fighter, putting him up against an elite European or Russian fighter in their own backyard and basically sending them to go and get knocked out or badly hurt or something like that. We need to stop that. That's not doing any favors for African boxing. And, you know, that's why you need guys like Gabe who really have the fighter's best interests at heart and will look for fair fights, look to build them up and look for fair fights overseas that will help them earn some money. Obviously, Gabe can earn his money back. The investor, me, can earn my money back, and everyone wins together. So that's a big point I haven't really touched on apart from the other things that I think that African boxing needs to fix at the moment.
Okay, so and by this, I'm pushing you against the wall. That's I know for a fact. Would you say that if we should get other people like Alex Ntiamwa and maybe a few others attached to you guys, you will be able to talk to the likes of Super Sports so that at least we can have them as a reference point or a television station. Then we can leverage on the other things like, you know, building interest, getting other people. Because I know in Ghana, when you go to Jamestown, boxing is the biggest sport there. But of course, we need to be able to move it just out of Accra to the other, and I think that the GBF and the GBA are doing well in that regards. So why my simple question to you is that with the rapport that you guys have built over the years, if you should add 1 or 2 people, would you guys say that you'll be able to have a proper conversation with the likes of Super Sports or DSTV to get this package done? Tom?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the more people that are putting pressure on channels like, like SuperSport, DSTV, that's how you're going to kind of get results done. We need backing of, quite a few big players in the African, promotions landscape that are going to support us. And, we can all put pressure on them together, say, look, you really need to broadcast these fights. You've got immense talent in Africa. We need to showcase it to the world, and we need to basically, build it up. But also, like, I'm not going to stop emailing DAZN. Like, I've got the guy. He's responded to my message now. I will keep messaging him until he comes on board to stream one of our, African fights. So, it takes tenacity. You've got to just keep. Gabe will tell you as well, in this industry, you've got to really, really, keep trying and be determined to get the outcome you want.
Let me have your bit on that, Gabe. What's your take?
Sure. So I agree with Tom. Everything is in terms of collaboration and having people on board so you can do that large push and to sort of communicate with the larger companies and organizations who can actually bring this to life. So bringing everything together, Tom and I will definitely, whatever we can do in terms of setting the conversation up, whether it's helping with the game plan, but we do need these individuals and even organizations such as promoters as well to be in the fight, so to speak, where we can all conglomerate together and then approach these television stations, streaming platforms, other companies who may want to eventually invest into Africa as well within the art of boxing and the sport itself. So just having all that information, bringing everyone together, and then making that push, I think can be a large starter to this coming to fruition.
Okay, so I got this question for you, and it's simply asking whether or not must government involvement play part in this business. We have challenges when it comes to football with government involvement here and there. Yes, of course, government puts in the money and they expend certain returns, as it were. I mean, that's normal with every business. But do you think that boxing needs government involvement? Because if you go to the likes of Jamestown and the rest, I think that has been the say. But do you think that boxing needs government involvement, or it should be solely private investors coming together and push this agenda forward? I mean,
I think that's a conversation where so everyone should be involved, but like in the conversation. I'm not saying wholehearted government involvement in everything, in every aspect, but to be in the room and conversing how everyone can come together and approach these companies, because a lot of obviously these television stations, they're either public, run by the government, or they're private. So sort of bringing everyone to the table in the initial aspect of the planning phase, I think can be helpful. And then over time, sort of deciding who can be the individuals on the inside, making that push to create this sort of relationship with these companies. And,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom. Let's do this executive summary. I think I'll start first with Gabi before I come to you, Tom. Gabi. So managers, what should they do in their own small corner to make sure that we get African boxing to the next stage? We bring out the business aspect. I'm gonna go through one by one, and you're just going to be giving me that, because I have my producers and everybody noting things down. This is like a whole business plan altogether. Everything that you guys have said has already been noted down, and the points picked, things we can do and all that. So I'm going to go with you through this thing. We're just going to do a proper summation of it, more like executive summary. So managers, what should they do in their own small corner to make sure this agenda is fulfilled?
So first, it's more on a personal level. Make sure that you're true to yourself and that you understand your limitations, because you can't just approach a boxer or a promoter or a potential sponsor and say, I can achieve this without actually having it planned out. So one thing to start would be to personally understand your limitations and what you can accomplish for yourself as a manager, for the boxer who's signed to you, the promoter who may be signed as well, and then any potential sponsors or organizations. start off moving to the boxer itself. Like I said, the talent is there. Make sure that the boxer has the right coaching. Make sure that the boxer has the right social presence. Make sure that they're doing everything that they can to sort of build themselves up and eventually progress in their career. And then, continuously moving into sort of collaborating as well with, like I said, sponsors, streaming platforms, promoters, anybody that can help move the fighter up in their career, I think is a huge, huge help. But it does start with the manager, who is sort of the guidance role for them. And that's something that, I mean, with any individual, you're learning every single day how to get better. Not even people at the top echelon of this business still have things to learn. Everybody does.
That's
and
true.
I think, so to continuously know that you can still learn and better yourself is also a huge thing on a managerial level prior to moving any.
Television stations, what are you expecting from them?
From television stations,
Yes.
First communication and allowing individuals such as managers to pretty much explain to them the benefits alongside. This has to be with promoters, because the manager aspect, you can only shine your boxer as well and your company, depending on how much pull you have in the industry. But having promoters there with you, sort of making the claim and staking the claim as to how this can be a successful event, is will make this very successful.
Marketing agencies and marketing and branding companies, marketing agencies and branding. What are you expecting from them?
To once again give fighters a voice and to allow them to pretty much expose themselves around the world in a positive manner and build themselves up. So it's all of these companies who have the monetary aspect, the pull around the world. We as managers need them to allow us to get a seat at the table, to just at least listen to us and to see what we are claiming and how we can help them as well, because it should be a 1-for-1.
African boxing bodies and authorities, what are you expecting from them?
Once again, allowing us to speak, but also to allow and help in terms of assistance any way possible, whether it's to communicate with these companies or communicate with promoters, and anything that sort of gives the fighters a leg up in terms of their careers. So whatever can be done to help them, I'm all for it. But I obviously am, as a guidance to my boxers, I want to make sure that they're getting everything correctly and that it benefits them as well.
Business people, potential sponsors, and academia, what are you expecting from them?
To just understand how the landscape of boxing in Africa is continuously growing, and that there are a lot of opportunities that are sprouting up here, and to just keep an open mind as to how, like Tom was saying, that you might have 10 events, 7 may not be successful, 2 may be all right, but 1 can be the next Google. To just have that in the back of your mind, because any business, you may not become successful right off the bat, but there is a lot of promise and a lot of opportunity here, and I just want people to know and understand that.
Finally, promoters and, of course, boxing lovers and fans, what are you expecting from them?
Promoters to give fighters the opportunity they truly deserve, and whether that's building them up over a couple fights over an extended period of time, but to just give them their opportunity. And fans to continue to love the sport the way that they do, and to continue to show out and show support for boxers, for anyone in the industry.
Okay, so let's go to Tom. Tom, in that same order, let's start with fans.
From the fans, I mean, we just need, we need guys to come out and support these guys, support African boxing, get there in numbers, tell your friends about these fighters, really help support them on social media as well. That's a big thing. Social media, you can make things explode if you know how to use social media. So I think teaching, one of the things with Fight Africa is we want to really help fighters for early career, throughout their career and post-career as well, but also to educate them and help them with things like social media, technology, stuff like that, so that they can promote their own careers. But we just need the fans to help them with that aspect as well and support them.
Television stations and potential sponsors.
Yeah, television stations, well, we need them to hear us out. We need them to, you know, actually be willing to put on these big fights in Africa. And, you know, that's, as I said, going to take a collaborative effort. We're going to need to put pressure on them together. Guys like Priceless with contacts at DSTV, you know, that's a big thing. We need to leverage those kind of connections.
So marketing agencies and branding companies.
Not really my forte, this sort of thing, because I think a lot of these questions you would be asking the promoter himself, you know, what can they do to help the promoter? But I myself am not an experienced promoter. I'm more of an investor. So, you know, it's a bit difficult for me to answer that one. But I think I would echo, you know, what Gabe has said on these things. Gabe is the attorney. He's the well-spoken one. So, you know, I'm the guy with the spreadsheets.
Okay, it's good. It's good. Now, so for you, I will change it a little bit. What about government agencies and African boxing authorities and bodies?
Yeah, so government's role in the sport. I mean, I know in South Africa, there's been a lot of promoters that just haven't been able to turn a profit without government support. But that's not really the answer. You know, promoters need to become self-sufficient. And, you know, that is by building up a proper fan base, doing proper marketing, proper social media, posters, things like that, to build up that fan base, get them coming to the arena, you know, and, you know, getting them to spend their hard-earned money. Because in Africa, the money is a problem. You know, fans don't have a lot of money. So, you know, making what you can at the gate is difficult. It's difficult to get profitability just from the gate. I've found that out. You do need a TV deal to make it profitable, I think, in Africa. But some promoters might have other ideas, and that's why it's good, you know, if we can get to speak to a lot of promoters that have done successful promotions in Africa. What have they done? You know, how have they managed to attract sponsors? It'd be good to hear from them on you know, further shows of yours.
Definitely, we're going to do that. We've laid up some few interviews with. We are even going to talk to businesses, Ghanaian businesses that are willing to want to come support boxing. Some of them are already doing it, but we want to understand from them what are the things that they look out for, because no business will just want to pump their money into something which is not bringing any, you know, returns. You know, they may not want returns in the form of cash or business, cash, but definitely they want, as in promotions, they want leverage, they want, you know, they want to reach other markets. You know, they are trying to get certain target market, and of course they want to also protect their brand and all that. So we'll try and bring them in here. We'll also bring in academia. We are actually scheduled to talk to one of the biggest brains when it comes to branding and marketing in Ghana. He's actually the dean, as it were, at the University of Professional Studies, talking about Professor Abednego. Yes, we'll definitely also get him on the platform. This is a conversation which is going to be ongoing. But let me ask you this before we wrap up the show, because we've done more than 15 minutes in addition here. But we have just 5 minutes to wrap up. What about people like yourself, investors and promoters? What are you expecting from them to make this topic and everything we are talking about here a reality?
Yeah, from investors, like I'm going next week, Friday, to go to a foundathon where I'm going to try and get £10,000 of investment for Fight Africa. That leads on to angel investors. The guy who's running it has got an access to angel investors and venture capital. Once you've raised 10,000, raising 100,000 isn't that hard. Once you've raised 100,000, raising $1 million isn't that hard. So it takes the small guys, you know, guys like me, to be able to put down a pitch, get that first £10,000, then put together a bigger pitch, get that first £100,000, and then we have some capital to work with. So, you know, I've just got to go and do my job next Friday and get this first sort of foot in the door, and then we can see how it goes from there.
Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna give Gabi the last opportunity to say something to his following and probably people as well watching him all over in Africa and of course the world at large, because we know for a fact that the show is also being streamed on Boxing Ghana, the main page, the biggest page, Boxing Ghana. So Gabi, I'm first going to start with you. Your final words.
Sure. Just wanted to say thank you, Sam, for the platform to allow me to come and speak to everyone here. And if there's anyone who would like to get in contact with me, my Instagram is at GABE_ my last name Blender. And if you would like to follow any
the name is on your screen. Definitely the name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
And if you'd like to follow any updates within the agency, my Instagram page is at Critical Talent Agency. And yeah, if anyone has any questions, I'm always constantly on my phone. You can even ask my wife. She always says you're always on your phone because I live for this. I love this. And so if anyone, whether you're a promoter, a aspiring fighter, a current world champion, a politician, a journalist, anybody, if you would like to reach out to me on Instagram. I can also leave my information with you, Sammy, as well, if you can. Yeah, if that information can be disseminated as well. I am glad to speak to anyone and help out any way that I can, especially in this continent in Africa, because I know that not only my fighters will become eventually world champions, but I want to help them build themselves in Africa and help bring the sport to life more so than it already is. And then also bring in, whether it's agencies, whether it's streaming platforms, television companies, anybody who has any interest in investing into, whether it's boxing in Ghana or anywhere in Africa, I will do my absolute best to make it happen.
Tom, there's this question here for you. This one is asking him about Felix Ajam. He's been pretty dormant lately. Is there anything in the okay? I guess basically the person wants to know plans for Felix Ajam. Are you the one managing him?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Just lamp that. I'll just give you like 30 seconds. Just say something on that. I mean, they want to know what's up with Felix Ajam. So if you can just say that before I move to Tom and we just wrap up. Sure. We have just a minute to
So I only started working recently with Felix. We're definitely in talks for a large event to be happening in Africa as well, within Ghana, and the eventual goal is to also help him when he's built up, to get him fair fights in countries in Europe as well. But like to start off here, as like I said before, my management deal is mainly to help in Europe and the United States, and also Mexico, Canada, the other countries as well. But I'd like to still help within Africa, and then when they are ready to move internationally, help there. But we will keep everyone posted with any news. So just stay tuned.
Okay, great. Thank you so very much, Gabi. I think that you heard it all there. There are tons of your messages. I will try and do justice to them. But of course, I'm going to go straight to our man, Tom, so that Tom will also tell us what he has as his final words. And then we just wrap up the show because we've done more than 20 minutes in addition. Yeah. Tom.
Yeah,
final words.
I'll make it very quick. I just want to say, appeal to all the boxers out there, get on social media, LinkedIn, whatever you can, make your own careers. Don't just work hard in the gyms, work hard at using technology to further your career. And the fans of the boxers, get your fans to help you do it. They've all got special abilities and leverage that and get them to help you do it and help them promote your careers as well. And that will get you to the top.
Well, definitely that will get you to the top. Words from our man, Tom Varley. We're very much grateful to you guys for this wonderful show. This is where time will allow us. It's been a fruitful discussion, no two ways about it. We had tons of messages. I mean, I got tons of things to do, but I mean, I'm not sure we can go through all that. We needed to talk about the African Games, the updates, how many people have won, who's gotten where, and all that. We also needed to talk about the games and some topical boxing news when it comes to international boxing. But of course, we've gone past our time. So this is where we have to draw the curtains for another indeed exciting edition of what we call Boxing Court. I know that you did enjoy it. Do forgive me if I didn't read your messages. There were tons of them. I wish I could show it to you, but so many of them. But let's see. Just like I put all of them together, try to get a gist of what the message is saying, because most of the messages cuts across. So can you do forgive me if I didn't read your message? Do forgive me, I beg of you. Next week I'll do justice to that. Next week I'll probably allocate like 10 minutes and read all your messages. You know, you make the show the show. Till I come your way again, my name has been Sammy Ofosuhene. Like I always say, remember, a positive anything is better than a negative something. Let the conversation continue, and I'll see you when I see you. Do take care, and bye for now. We are gone.